Well, I guess we should talk to Alice. Why did you want to take Balashid's notes? He gives you a sidelong glance. Like I said, I didn't appreciate her prying. So now you understand a little more about Islamir. He wrinkles his nose. No thanks to that animancer. My spleen, black bile. Come on. Belashid's methods were flawed, but you still learned something, didn't you? Only because you and I have a lick of good sense between us. But the average person? Show them a shiny gadget in the hands of an expert and they'll believe anything. That's true. People are too easily led. Yes, people need something to believe, someone to follow, and the danger of following a bunch of animancer is that they don't know where they're headed. So about your parents. He looks at you cautiously. Yes? Why was your mother gone so often? She was invited to join a hemneg with a landed thane when I was very young. His estate was 5 days' ride from our home in the Synth Wood. So that was part of it. He gives you a smallest frowns. That the real issue, however, was my father. Despite his initial agreement with the arrangement, father was never happy with it. He would hound and harangue my mother when she was home. He wanted to know whether she was intimate with the Thane, and no matter how many times she swore she wasn't, it wasn't enough. As you can imagine, that led to her coming home much less often, even though she still supported us financially. I'm sure she was trying to take care of you in her own way. I believe so. She had an important role managing the Lord Thane's land and administrative duties, and even though she was away, she provided well for us. What's a hemneg? A ceremonial marriage between folk and elf. Because the Adir mainland has historically been split between the two races, we have many institutions that are designed to normalize relations. Our monarchy is headed by folk, and an elven consort rule alongside the reigning Fairconion, or Fairconian, or Mequin. Ugh, all these made up words. This is the most prominent example of Hemneg. In many cases, a Hemnig allows two households to pool resources. Amongst the aristocracy, Hemnigs consolidate power. Sometimes, as in my mother's case, a Hemnig is a means for a noble to add another administrator to his or her household. Consorts are received with almost the same level of respect as their noble counterpart, which can be extremely useful. Of course, Hemnigs are sometimes used to sanitize an extramartial affair. He shrugs. I don't know that it's really any better, but it seems to satisfy common notions of decency. And elf and folk unions are sterile, which no doubt eases some concerns. Okay, so human and elf cannot mate, apparently. Huh. It sounds like your father had problems with his temper. He had a problem with my mother's hemnig, even though they agreed upon it long ago. That's the financial benefits would be considerable. That it was little different from his role as the Arl steward. It ate at him, and so he drank and raged. When he was home, he raged at her. Oh, sorry. When she was home, he raged at her, and she wasn't. He raged at me. More than anything, I wanted me to become an arcane knight in the service of his Arl. I think he felt this would validate his chosen career and master. He was a firm man, as you saw, but in the end I became a successful wizard, due in no small part to his strictness. Nonsense! You accomplished that on your own, and you would have been fine without him pushing you. Are you so certain? I didn't know what I wanted in my life then. I surely wouldn't have been so focused without a little direction. Oh, whoa. That's only me. Alright, more talking. An animancer scribbles feverishly on the parchment scroll while his free hand dances through the air, counting off unseen objects. His lips move in silent discourse. As your shadow falls over his scrolls, he looks up to you with a mingled perplexity and irritation. Can I help you? He forces a polite smile. What is it that you're working on? My area of focus is witches. More specifically, how to cure them. What's a witch? A hollowborn who received a transplanted animal soul during infancy, one of Animancy's early efforts to cure the legacy, if not a successful one. He removes his spectacles and wipes his brow. They show signs of developmental abnormalities throughout their childhood, but when they reach adolescence, they become aggressive, feral, but still victims in need of care. Transplanting animal souls into children seems like an odd solution. We animancers were trying to do something about the crisis, rather than letting it swallow a generation of children. He stares at a fixed point on the far wall. And despite the controversy, it only went so far because, at first, it seemed to work. People call it the salvation. Children that had never been responsive to any kind of stimuli suddenly seems aware of their surroundings, of their families. He takes a slow breath. The complication won't begin until puberty, that's when the incompatibility between body and soul takes shape. Children become violent, ravenous, but we pay dearly to our mistakes. I promise you, angry mobs hunted down Animancer and burned down their homes, with them still inside, often as not. People took to calling it the cruel salvation, and many still loathe us for it. But we wanted to stop the legacy as much as anyone. The public begged for our help, and we did the best we could. I still don't know if that absolves us. Why do you study witches? He puffs. What kind of question is that? Just think of all the families that could be healed, if the lives that could be restored. What could be more important? His face was reddened, and he turned away from you for a moment. He shakes his head. Animancy has an answer here. I know it. It's simply a matter of working it out. Okay, I don't need to know that. I just wanted that to not be highlighted. Does the name Helig mean anything to you? Modred starts. Helig? Is a colleague of mine. He was primarily a necromancer, but he was involved in animancy too. He worked at the Sanitarium for several years. I dare say everyone here has heard of him. He clears his throat. He left his post recently. I believe he was seeking new opportunities in the Valiant Republics. He leans forward. The advances they are making in animancy really are quite remarkable. Surely you've heard. He coughs again. Perhaps you haven't. Do you know the woman named Rowena? No, I don't get out of the Sanitarium much. About Helig. Modred smooths his robe. As I said, he no longer works here. I've heard differently. He slides his spectacles down his nose. Just what are you insinuating? If this is your idea of a joke, I assure you it's very poor taste. So, you didn't sink a blade into his chest and dump him in the catacombs. He'll be relieved to hear it. Modred pales. How could? He sighs and runs his hand over his hair. Very well. Yes, I killed him. I killed that beast because nobody had the spine for it. He was a madman. Years of perverse experiments, twisting healthy souls, torturing damaged souls, and for what? He flayed the essence of Glenfathan indigence for his amusements. He waves down the hall. If the public hadn't known half of his deeds, they have razed his place to the ground. He jabs his finger onto the desk. He used the sanitarium to disguise his own sick proclivities. He brought shame on all of us, and put the entire discipline at risk. I regret nothing. He calms down and sizes you up. Anyways, now you know the whole grisly story. Helic's soul returned to his corpse through sinister magic. He wants revenge. No doubt. He spread his hand wide. But now you understand why I killed him. Why someone had to. If he sent you, I only hope I can convince you to return and slay him once and for all. He has something I need. You consider a deal with that monster. He puts his head in his hands. If what I've told you wasn't sweet enough, I doubt anything will. I must return to my work. I wish you well. Helic said you stole a grimoire from him. Modred brows furrows. His grimoire? That madman has been... What's that madman has been telling you? He said you kept it in a trunk over there. Modred takes the key with a trembling hand, his eyes darting to the trunk behind you. You've been misled. There's no grimoire here, and Helig never intended to find one. He wretched that wretched thing was an insatiable hunger for blood, he shuddered. Thank you for denying him. I hope you can convince him. Oh my god. I'll consider it. Consider also what kind of man he is and what kind of thing he's capable of. Don't trust him. I must return to my work. I wish you well. Examine the trunk. Open it. Wait, I gave him the fucking key? Oh my god. What kind of... I show him the key. I didn't want to give it to him. He didn't give it back to me. Ugh. I'm gonna fucking open this chest and get that fucking grimoire. I swear to God, I want it. I want Alice to learn all the fucking spells that grimoire. And if I had to kill this fucker, I will. I will fucking kill this fucker if I have to. Yeah. Yep. If you don't have it, where is it? Voice from the past. Yeah, I need to go through this. Okay. Save before I open this fucking chest and this guy's to go berserk and try to kill me. Because I know he will. I know he fucking will. But I want this chest and I want it now. The trunk holds no grimoire treasures. Instead, you find yourself staring into the feral gaze of a toothy maw and twisted monstrous creature. Its humanoid form has been overwhelmed by bony angles and terrifying claws. With a start, you recognize the vague shape of a young girl beneath the elongated, malformed bones of grayish skin. It growls and leaps from the trunk, not towards you, but towards Modred. Modred has no time to scream before his throat is torn out. Oh. Huh. Oh. It was probably his kid or something. So, why did he have that thing in his chest? I don't know. I slew Modred. Is not what Helig wanted me to do, but what's done is done. I need to return to him and let him know what happened. Okay. Interesting. There was a zombie child in the trunk. So obviously the other guy lied to me, but he could have just told me there's a dead zombie girl in there, but whatever. Have you learned anything of interest? I found records that Azul may be running some questionable experiments. Experiments? Cademan Azul is in charge of patient welfare now. He's not authorized to run any more experiments. I am disappointed in Cademan. I had hoped he would be the one to guide our inquiry. He'll be in his office or in the patient's ward. I'm granting you imminent access so you can find him. No doubt you wish to speak to him further on this matter, and I, for one, am curious as to what he might have to say. Tread carefully in the ward. There are a few dangerous cases. I would ask that you do your best not to agitate the patients. They've had enough trouble as it is. Okay. Let's go back down. Okay, be careful in there. Farrell, a curved spine twists this woman's postures forward, her greasy hair draped over her large eyes like vines. She smiles at you. You must be visiting someone. Then, noting your experience, she adds, a friendly visit, I hope? Do you know where might find Azo? I think I've seen him around today. Have you checked the laboratory? It shares a wall with his office. He's been spending most of his time there lately. Why are you in here? Behind her hair, her cheek flushed. I don't want to say. You'll think less of me. I wouldn't worry about that. These last few years haven't been kind to me. They haven't been kind to anyone, really. I try not to think of it as personal. I lost my husband and both my boys in the Saints' War. My daughter, the legacy took her before she was ever mine. I made do. What else can you do? I moved into a tiny place on Andre's gift, got by mending clothes and on the kindness of strangers when I had to. But I was surviving and gods were watching over me. I could live with that. Then one day, this noblewoman comes in, wants this fancy gown fixed. Gorgeous thing, this shade of blue I never seen before. Only I looked at it, and it reminded me of something. I had what they call an awakening. I remember being a noble woman myself in another life. People doting over me, or doting over me, men doting over me. Me, the best food, the most beautiful homes, all the things you never dared to dream of. They were mine. It was poison, knowing that all those things I'll never have in this life. It did something to me. My food started to taste rotten. The walls in my little room seemed to close in around me. I stopped being able to sleep in my own bed. So I came here. It was that or break into an estate and start ordering servants around. It seems like such a silly thing to worry about. You don't have to tell me, but I can't get past it. And I start to wonder, did the gods chose this life for me? And if so, what terrible thing I must have done to deserve it. Maybe you get there one day. If not in this life, then in another. The strange part is, I think even the best wouldn't be good enough for me anymore. I think it must have gotten to the point to where I was that noble lady. To when I was that noble lady. Have any of the patients here been acting unusually? Well, there's Batixa, who relives a murder she committed more than 5 lifetimes ago. Idleman, who they say only has half a soul, and who has found collecting the faces of others because he believed his own to be a false one. Graham, he speaks in a language no one understands and wails at night sometimes. Just different from their normal behaviors, I mean. Well, yes, I suppose. But nothing they didn't volunteer for. Master Azel let us know what that numbers of patients in the Northward had volunteered for new therapy and would be escorted to his laboratory to receive treatment. The Northward has our most troubled cases, and some of them have chosen to get help. It seems to me it's gotten quieter there since it started. It's Graham I see them taking in the most. He struggles, but he always was a bit of a wild one. Would I be able to visit the Northwood? They like to keep them separate. I don't know that I've ever seen the guards allow visitors, just Master Azo. You might ask him. He's very sympathetic. What do you know about this animancer, Azo? Oh, I like him very much. Many animancer could care less about their patients. Look at us, like vermin for the experiments. But Master Azo treats us like human, even the very sick. You can tell he does this to help people. He's helped me understand a great deal about myself, and I know he's done the same for others. It's too bad what they did to him. He hides it well, but I know he's still affected by it. What happened to Azo? Frail's eyes dart back and forth, and her voice lowers to just above a whisper. They don't like to talk about it, but there's an accident. He was said to be one of the brightest in Direwood. That was his reputation here, and that was what brought me to seek treatment. People say it was Eagle that drove him to try and solve the legacy, but that's hogwash. Even if he was a bit of a showman, he loves his homeland. He thought he could help. He wasn't one to speak of his work, suspected his colleague might try to steal it. But he told me once that he had figured out a way to create a soul. Not a soul exactly, mind you, but how did he put it? A proxy, I think he called it. Had some machine that drew energy out of the very ether. Can you imagine? The point is, it was going to help with the legacy. It was going to make Hollowborns do something easier to love and care for. God knows that's something we need. Do you know what they call those empty little babies in Andra's gifts? No, tell me. They call them boys. or buoys, whatever, because so many of them are found. Buoys. God, so many found face down in the water. These are mad times. Anyways, Master Azul had scheduled a public demonstration of his work in Copper Lane. He was so excited, and then the next day he was locked in his office, turning away visitors. I heard, and he stopped seeing patients. I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't have the heart to ask him. But I'm glad they're letting him treat people again. Lockpicks. The hell? And a fish? Jesus, this place is bigger than I thought it would be. So there's this place right here that I can't go in. That right there. Okay. What is that? Raven wing. Take it, I guess. Ha! Ring of Unshackling. Grants suppressed affliction. Wait, she can't cast it or something? Minor spellbinding. Grants suppressed affliction. Okay, it has to be in a skill then, maybe? No. I don't know what that does. Breakout, preservation, and fine. Anyone has less than 7 armor? I have a second chance on it though. That's 14 armor. Well, that's good for him. 9 armor. Well, she's not gonna get hit a lot, so safeguard is kind of useless. So yeah, a lot of this is useless. This is better on her though. Oh dear God. Well, that does make her look more tribal. I like it. I'll keep it. Save or I talk to him. A round-faced, balding man turns to face you. His upper lip is pulled upward slightly by his pointed nose, exposing his upper teeth when he scowls. What is the meaning of this? I like access to the North Ward. Out of the question. Those patients are in isolation for a reason. Huh. Your forehead seems damped all of a sudden. Perhaps I should discuss your insubordination with the head warden. You smug cretin! How dare you come down here and meddle? You have no idea the importance of my research. He balls off his fist and digs his teeth into his index finger, a scowl shimmering beneath his breath and a deep scowl compressing his face. Fine! Speak to them! For all the good it'll do you. I'm sure the discussion will be fascinating. He pulls a heavy key from one of his pockets and nearly slams it down on the table before handing it to you. Nice. Thank you. I heard you were demoted. How did it happen? Azul's nostrils flares as he bares his upper teeth more broadly. That is none of your concern. Did one of those others put you up to this? Udmer? That smug weasel? Things went wrong. Everything. I don't know how. I never know how. He spits on the floor as if to remove his bitter taste from his mouth. Ethelmore told me you're not supposed to be doing any more experiments. Yes, well, Ethelmore hasn't done much good for anyone since he had his soul moved to an inanimate object. So I fail to see why I should let that sway me. If animancers all follow the commands of their leaders, where would they be? We all be as backward, as wild, as willfully ignorant as Rikiras. We would know nothing about life or death, or even ourselves. We would be lost in the dark, with no clue as to why. I never thought I'd find myself in agreement with a statue, but Ethelmore's right about this fellow at least. He sneers at Azo. How easily ambition masquerades as prudence. I bet he's fooled even himself. Surely there are other paths that don't involve risking lives. Indeed, many lives have been spent in such pursuits, writing treatises and poems. But tell me this: how does one verify the truth of a poem? If some philosopher stumbled across the meaning of our existence, how would we know it from a false one? These are wasted lives. In enemies, there is progress. We are measurably closer to complete understanding because of our work, and that will be true until our work is complete. Who will solve Waywind's legacy? Some church? Some warrior? It will be an animancer, or it will be no one at all. Have you tried to experiment on any other subjects? I have, yes. No point in lying about it now that Ethelmore is involved. I asked for volunteers from our patients, and a few brave souls came forward. I was very close to, at one time, at breaking through. They understood that. They understood their sacrifices would mean something. Okay. Well, good thing I asked him the key before I told him I already told whatever face is. Statue. I only warned once. After that, it's your skin. Oh, please, they're just witches. Okay, what the fuck? I can't go in there? Okay, so that's not the North Ward. The North Ward is apparently over here. Is this my face? Tell me! The thundering sky, rains of blood, innocent must drown. Okay. Oh, this man has a look in his eyes of a hunted animal, and at your approach, he staggers backward to the far corner of his cell, halfway appearing as though he would climb the walls as if it would get him further away from you. He cries out, a bizarre, primal utterance like nothing you have heard. I need to ask you some questions. Graham looked at you blankly. It is unclear whether he understands you or not, but his panic is momentarily subsides. He opens his mouth to speak, but the words come out are half-formed, as though his tongue were cut out. They were impossible for you to discern, if indeed they are words at all. I don't think he can speak anymore. Not in words, at least. This is monstrous. Frail said you were being treated by Cadman Azo. He looks at you with uncertainty. Slowly, tentatively, he steps closer to the front of his cell, and as he does so, for the first time, you can perceive his soul within your keen. It is misshapen, as though maimed by some jagged instrument, and large expanse of its has been gouged out entirely. You feel no barrier of resistance. If you wanted to, you could look further into Graham's soul. Yes. You project out towards the maimed soul in front of you, merging with it, its confusion to hear and fear becoming yours, and as it risks you into its depths. You are in your cell. A key turns. A door creaks open on neglected hinges. Thoughts comes to you in waves, incomplete, broken, fearful. Standing in front of the door is a rotund, balding man. His upper teeth and pointy nose reminds you of a rat. He beckons, apologetic. You don't want to go. Anything else in your mind is a single word, and the word is no. But it dissolves before it reaches your lips. You press against the back wall, cornered. You cry out. In darkness, you fight against unseen restraints. You cannot move your arms or legs. The man walks into the room carrying a lit candle, its meager flame casting long shadows across books and machinery. Straps binds your arms and legs. Cold metal circumscribes the crown of your head and the breadth of your chest. The man is sorry. He is indeed in need of raw materials. They dismantled his work and he needed another source. He needs to show them he was right. He thanks you. Then he turns a knob and you feel yourself beginning to crack within, and you feel the pieces of you torn away like having your inside chewed by a horde of rats, and you are screaming a scream you can barely hear. Another night, heavy footsteps outside your door coming for you. You look through a slit in your door, the flesh giant artificial being outside, but facing the end of the hall, the boy there. The boy looks with interest at the giant. He then collapses to the floor like a shed snakeskin. The giant convulses for a moment, then rights itself, turns away, and leaves. Graham looks at you, still wild-eyed but somehow more present. He nods at you, then walks back to the end of his cell. These poor people. This isn't the treatment they were promised upstairs by the cushioned seats and lush carpets. Is that the cure for soul sickness? To be thrown into a cell and subjected to whims of your captor? These animancers are mad as their patients. But if all were treated like this, the Sanitarium would never survive. What these patients do to warrant such conditions? There are just as many who come here and are cured of their ills, people who otherwise be cast aside. I hope so. Kana takes a deep breath. You're probably right. It's just hard to see. Let's be on our way. This place gnaws at the soul. A willowy adolescent boy stands in the center of his cell, gawkish and stoop-shouldered. He stares straight ahead. The occasional blinks his only movement, and it is unclear whether he registered your presence at all behind his glassy, doll-like eyes. In this state, the barriers between your soul and his are thin and porous, easily bypassed if you wished it. Yes? You close your eyes and edge forward towards the boy's soul, and as you near, a sudden malice came over you. You are cold and warmth all at once, sweating and shivering and straining for breath as you did on the caravan's journey. The soul approach is the wrong one. The parasitic plant that strangled its host. It is predatory and pitiless, and you have crossed paths with it before. Too late does it occur to you to retract, and already you feel yourself plunging into some interminable abyss of thought and memory. You are standing in a cell now, the same cell in the sanitarium. The halls are moonlit and creepy, and you are waiting. At the far end of the ward, the door opens, revealing a flesh golem in silhouette beneath the stone archway. It makes its usual rounds, the same stops every time, the misbegotten child of disboned creatures. When the construct is close, you coil yourself up and spring forward, passing out of the boy's body as though it were a membrane. You can sense his body behind you collapsing onto the floor, a puppet whose strings are cut. You are crushing towards the golem now, bodiless as a gust of wind. Quickly, you think to yourself, quickly, and you feel the strength hemorrhaging from your soul as though you dart forward the makeshift abomination. You pass into the golem's shell and overtake the soul implanted within, encircling it, suppressing it, and contained in its new vessel. You are strong again. You step heavy-footed down the corridor, unheeded by the other construct, and scrutinized by only the wary, untrustworthy eyes of the mad. Coming at the last office piled with books and scripted papers and the perverse implement of an animancy, you set your oversized hand on the large machine. A nest of globes and tubes coils in the center of the room and go to work, bending wires and unsettling alignments. Your surroundings are pulled as you past you or perhaps you are pulled past them, and they dissolve into a blur. When they settle into place again, you are outside on a clear day, standing in front of a crowd stacked high above you on the tiered seats of an amphitheater. You are acting for the crowd, standing deliberately still, but this is no play. A balding man with a rodent-like feature is strapping you to a machine, the one you had tampered with. You see your arms for the first time, short and fleshy, unmistakably of those of a little girl, but this body is not truly yours. Your mind still holds the same determination, the same hardness as before. The body itself is cold and vacuous, unlike the others. This one has no soul of its own. The man speaks and the crowd applauds with an enthusiasm worthy of a hero's entrance. "Bear witness," he says, and he pulls the lever. The machine shivers and sparks and beads of sweat roll down the side of the man's brow. The crowd's apprehension quickly gives way to awe as a crystal globes filled with radiant mist that casts the entire theater aglow. He opens a valve and the glow crawls through the tube along the length of copper wire that runs to a set of electrodes beneath your armpits. You feel nothing when it reaches you, as should be, for you have been leading his work astray periodically from time to time, altering notes and setting and playing puppeteer for Hollowborn. But you make it look how people would expect it to look when a body is infused with a soul. In a moment the machine goes dark and the man unstraps you, eyeing you with a scientist's concern. He looks back at the crowd. "Behold," he says, and there's obvious hesitation in his voice. Slowly, you take a plodding step forward, then another, and then another. You look up at the man, giving him the eye contact of which no Hollowborn is capable, and the crowd gasps. The man looks relieved. "How do you feel?" he asks at the volume meant for the crowd, and this is the moment. At the top of your lungs, you let out a piercing shriek. The man comes towards, his hand outstretched. You run the other way, back to the machine. With all your strength, you drive your head into the crystal globe. It shatters, streaking your head with warm blood. You strive your head down onto the surface of the machine again and again, drawing panic screams from the crowd. And by the time the man reaches you, your body was already ceased proper function and nearly twitches on the cold ground. Satisfied, you depart the corpse in search of another unsuspecting host. Who could put their faith in animancy now? You are pulled again from your surrounding, transcending the boundaries of memories and lifetimes, deeper and deeper past betrayals, and murder your lies upon lies that form the thick webbing of plots beyond mortal comprehension. You settle at last on a room you have seen before, expansive with tall device, encasing an Adra monolith at its center. The room is filled with people, and the people all look at the device. You are yanked suddenly back to reality, and once catatonic boy in the cell is looking directly at you, appraising, calculating. There is no room mistaking now that the soul of a man who caused your awakening that gazes out from the burrowed husk. A watcher. I believe we share a common past. I'm just looking for some answers. Is that so? He makes no effort to hide his disinterest. But he continues to search your eyes. He makes a slight grunting noise, and his eyes soften for an instant, and it seems, for that moment, that he recognizes you. He opens his mouth to speak, then it seems to think better of what he was about to say. His jaw tightens. I know your look. You hunger for answers that eludes you. It gnaws at your soul. It usurps your reason for being. You are like everyone. I will help you let go. He dodges backwards with startling grace, putting himself out of reach. Of his face there is no malice, only the dispassion of a farmer's putting down a sick animal. Then suddenly he slumps forward. Uh-oh. Oh, this is easy. Jesus Christ. Super easy. I thought this was going to be hard. Nope. Easy peasy. By the way, what quest did I just finish? I uncovered a Leaden key operative in the Sanitarium. He was the ability to possess those of weak souls, and he was using one of the patients to influence Caitman as with animancy research. Okay. Yeah, let's use this. And I can use this. And you're fine. Wait. Yeah, that doesn't damage my own guys. Weird. How the hell do these patients get... Whatever. Oh, come on, kill it already. What have you done? You seem to be experimenting on patients against their will, mangling their souls. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Azo's face drained of what color it had. How could you possibly... Look, it had to be done. Ethelmore and the others, they took everything from me. Everything when I was this close. I had to know. I had to know where I failed and why. I imagined the value if I succeed. If I had something that could make it all those hollow infants do something like a real person. And with a few more patrons and a few years research, who knows? No one has come that close with a legacy. It's why I have to continue. Why I have to risk everything here working in secret. Why you have to lie to Ethelmore for me. Tell him you clear me of all suspicion. We'll see. I trust that you'll do right for Direwood. Don't hold anyone accountable for my mistakes. Walking straight out there might be a bad idea. Oh, what the fuck is a witch doing out here? Did somebody kill the guards? Yep. Goddamn bunch of idiots. Ah. Why are some people so dumb? Jesus Christ. What in the blazes happened down there? You were given permission to ask questions. I didn't kill him. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. Azo was being influenced by a patient, but that patient really wasn't himself at the time. You finish your explanation, and Ethelmore breaks his silence. I have read accounts of people in history who could do what you describe. The accounts are few and brief and never reliable. Some go as far as to suggest that they are all the same person. If truly such a person was here among us, plotting our ruin, would that I had a body again, I could be of some real use in our time of need. I fear that the future may hold for this place. I am grateful you were able to dispatch the threat before there was loss of innocent life. We very nearly had another scandal on our hands. What of Azo? What part did his experiment play in the catastrophe? The Lenki would have found a way to interfere with the Sanitarium even without Azo. Your half answer suggests a bias, but it also suggests that it as close as to the truth as I will get from you. Caitman will remain here, but he will be monitored, and under no circumstance will he have access to any equipment. Is that it? Wait, what? I should have completed this quest. That's weird. I'm sure we read through all this before. I thought I finished two-sided. I really honestly did. It must be bugged. Oh, that sucks. I'm gonna go talk to her again. But this has to be bugged. Man. That's quite unfortunate. Wait, what? What the fuck? I thought I already did this. I'll pick the same options. I already did this, guys. There you go. That was so weird. Okay. Let me just go through all this again, because... Okay, that was so weird. I honestly thought I did that. He's still dead. Okay, I'm just making sure that I did everything now, because I'm... Okay, everything is good. Now we can get out of here. Yeah. Let's leave.